Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Hello, and welcome to the Healing Generations podcast. My name is Alejandro Berensosuna, and I will be one of your hosts today. Thank you for tuning in to our youth-led portion of the podcast, where today you'll be hearing from one of our own old Círculo participants and his healing process with the help of art, participation, and work in our community, his next chapter into fatherhood, and more. I'm here today with my co-host, Arreola Jimenez.
Thank you, AB, for getting us started in a good way, the way that you always do. Welcome again to the Healing Generation podcast. Today we have the honor and privilege of being with Jose Arreola, who for me, it's definitely an honor and a privilege because when he started Circle, I was one of the Circle keepers with Miguel Ozuna and Mario Ozuna and Arreola. So definitely welcome. Jose, I know a lot about you personally, your journey through high school, definitely as a Joven Noble graduate, your journey through San Jose State University, and then now going into your professional field. So definitely excited to have you here. Definitely excited to hear more about your journey.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. Yeah, this is an honor for me too to be involved with NCN and be connected to Palabra and everything still. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome. Let me go ahead and just start with the first question. You've been part of our circles for many years, so you always know the importance of conocimiento for us to get to know each other a little bit before we get down to business. So let me just start by asking you to introduce yourself to our listeners. Who is Jose Arreola? Who are you? Who do you represent? What's your purpose? How would you answer some of those questions?
For me, just start off by saying that I am the son of Maria Elizabeth Perez, my mom, who has been the one person in my life raising me and my value teacher. And beside her is Tony Catives, my dad, who came into my life a little bit later, but has made a very large impact on the person who I am today. I also bring with me a younger sister, Savannah Arreola, who taught me a lot of values about being an older brother, what that means, and what responsibility it carries to protect and look after someone. And then I also, of course, have my partner, Citlali Yaritza Jimenez, who will soon be the mother of my child. And with her, I definitely have grown as a person in a lot of ways emotionally. And it's through her presence and the values that she has, that she's provided me a space to learn and to heal, and also to absorb a lot of that good energy that she provides to me. And so without her, I wouldn't be able to be the same person that I am today as well. And I say that wholeheartedly. But yeah, and those are the people closest to me directly in my circle who have definitely made the largest impact in my life. I'm just happy to be able to represent them and every day honor them by being the person that I am and continue to be a better person.
Thank you for sharing. Congratulations. Also, I just want to say, before we did this podcast, Ariel, my brother, and my dad all went, "Oh, I know him. I ran Círculo with him." So I'm very sorry you had to deal with both my dad and my brother. But I just want to ask you a little bit about that. How did you get introduced to Círculo and Joven Noble in the first place?
It was a very mysterious kind of way how that happened. So my mom was actually at San Jose State, and she was taking a class with Dr. Pizarro, and Mario was also in that class helping teach. And it came about, I guess, a project for them to engage in the community. And what that looked like for them was working on creating a space for young women, similar to the Joven Noble curriculum, but geared towards women. And my mom was a part of that project. So when she heard about that, she asked me if attending a group like that is something that I would be interested in doing. And I, of course, as a high schooler with other priorities, said not really. But she pushed me to go anyway. And so I wouldn't have gone to my first circle without my mom pushing me and basically making me go. But I stayed and continued to attend because of the people there and the conversations that I had just in the first day that I was there.
Pretty much, you got voluntold to show up. And they said, "You're going. You're in high school. If you want to live under my house, this is a place that you got to be." Hey, but we appreciate that she brought you in a good way. We appreciate the way that you participated. So you already alluded to this a little bit. You talked about the reason of why you decided to stay and why you decided to come back. You came back multiple times. You came back your junior year in high school, senior year in high school, and even freshman year in college. And we always appreciated you coming back, whether it was a peer leader, whether it was to co-facilitate, whether it was just to continue just to sit and learn. What about that space made you feel welcome enough to want to come back a second, third, and a fourth time?
I think the first big thing for me that made me want to continue coming back, I would say, is the space. I think the consistency and the way that circle is held always made it seem like something familiar. And I always felt that coming back into a space, even though it may be with different individuals who I hadn't met yet, I still felt just as comfortable participating and listening to others and sharing about myself because the core values were there. And I think that everyone that I've ever sat in circle with has always been very upholding, if that's a word. They've always upheld the values of the circle and the agreements that have been created. So I think that it really just has a really strong presence in the space that makes it welcoming and provides that kind of consistency for me, at least.
Definitely. I mean, I know for me personally, when I first joined Círculo, the new people is probably what helped me the most because I'm super introverted. So being able to like meet new people who could connect to what you were going through and be there for you. They always say it's easier to talk to a stranger than even some of your closest friends. So for me, Círculo really helped with that. But I heard you were a community worker, so that's awesome. I love that. I love people who work in our community. I just want to ask, how has Círculo helped you in your current role with helping our youth and helping them get through today's time?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think that for me, being around youth is an important part of my future and my career. I think that as a youth surrounded by other youth when I was in Circle, I saw the impacts that we had on each other as peers. But I also directly kind of felt that there were opportunities for adults and older people to connect to youth in a lot of ways. And by seeing the way that like Ariel would engage the youth, by seeing the way that like Miguel and Mario would engage the youth, I saw that, it was possible to still continue this work beyond being just like a peer. So now that my main role consists of me meeting with youth, checking in on them in a role that we honor each other in the same level. I don't see myself as above the youth. I don't treat them like they're below me. We're equals, and I attribute a lot of that to seeing those examples in what could be potential in the field. So I've definitely pushed a lot of other professionals that I've been around to honor youth the same way and really treat them as people who may have less experience, but oftentimes do have a lot of experience and a lot of things to offer. Just treat them as anyone else because we can learn as much from them as they can from us. And the end goal is really just to help everyone get through their challenges and make sure that everyone's living a healthier life in regards to mental health.
I think that's what I appreciated a lot about Circle, both as a participant and as a Circle keeper, was that every single chair in there, you acknowledge that there's a person sitting there that carries both a teacher role and a student role. There's moments that we could talk about our lived experiences and what do we learn from that. And then there's times for us to just sit there and learn from other people's experiences. So thank you for bringing that up. So let's talk a little bit about your current work. What is it that you're currently doing? What agency do you currently work for? And how's that going for you?
So right now I work for Alcove. It's a mental health center that just opened in late June. And it's been a very engaging experience. Since we've opened, I came on board in December last year, and the first several months were virtual, which was a difficult and disheartening experience to try to engage with youth in that capacity. And we found ways to engage with them through Zoom, but it's not the same when you're in person. So my actual role is I'm a peer support specialist. And what that title entails is that I am able to provide a varying amount of services to youth and young people. Some of those being informal counseling, helping connect them to services outside of our own center, be it like if they need help with housing, then helping connect them to that, finding food, helping find them long-term mental health services, and also navigating the services that we provide in our own center, because we do provide a varying services that could be medical related, it could be mental health related, and so just trying to find what services they're looking for and help navigate that. We could also just be someone to hang out, play some video games, someone have a casual conversation, and it's really just more of a mentor role as a professional friend, I like to say. Someone that you can go to with any questions about mental health that may have a little bit more knowledge and resources, and just kind of guiding them along.
That's amazing. I mean, we need more people who just want to work, who like actually enjoy working with youth. Like even in our school systems, we have teachers that don't like kids but work with them just for the paycheck. So I think it's really awesome that you actually enjoy what you do. For those of us who aren't able to, offer all these resources and who only really have like an ear and a hug to lend to our youth, how can we give a hand to our youth and help them out in today's society?
I think that you kind of answered your own question in that just simply lending an ear and a hug to someone can really mean a lot to them. And that's something that I've learned in just these couple months that we've been open, is that it doesn't always have to be clinical. It doesn't have to be something that's professional to be impactful. And, as long as you're able to connect with someone in an intimate level where they feel seen and they feel heard, I think that at times that's really all they need. And of course, there's a little bit more severe situations where people need a lot more help. But in those cases, we can refer to, professional services like therapy and psychiatry and things like that. But really, it's when people don't feel alone and they feel heard and seen that can provide a lot of healing for them in that moment.
That right there, that's where the medicine's at, right? Feeling heard and seen. Because sometimes there's people in your life too that have good intentions, that definitely want to be there for you. And sometimes you might not recognize it at that point in time until later on when you're removed. But I think that's important. When you feel heard and seen, it allows you to really dive into your own healing journey. So let me ask you this question. Tell us a little bit about your healing journey. How did that start for you? What maybe helped you along in your healing journey? What maybe been an obstacle? But just tell us a little bit about healing. How does that look like in your life personally and even professionally? How does that overlap?
In my journey, I have shared a lot of experience in, just trying to navigate things on my own. And it wasn't that I didn't have people to rely on or support, but I just felt like I didn't want to add any additional baggage to others. One of the things that I've dealt with is, coming from a single parent household at a young age, specifically. And I think that experiencing the pain that comes with not having the best relationship with one parent was something that it took me a couple years to really understand and learn how to deal with. And for something like that, I needed more than just the support of family. I needed like professional help. So with that, I seen therapy as a way to heal from that. And I do think that it played an important role in that specific aspect. But in other places where relationally with other people, it just became very hard for me to carry the weight of what others were dealing with. I think that like at a lot of times when I was in high school, I was more empathetic to others, but to the point where it would be detrimental to myself and my own mental health because I was carrying a lot of what people were dealing with me. And in that sense too, I didn't know how to reach out for help in dealing with that. So it wasn't until my mom told me that she was concerned about my well-being and I wasn't seemingly myself, and just a lot of things, a lot of red flags were going off for her. So she had suggested that I go to therapy again. And I think it helped for a short time just being able to talk to someone I didn't know. But I think really around that time was when the circle was a very big like healing space for me, just because a lot of my family is dominated by women, and to be around other young men like my age was something that was new and different for me, especially me being the oldest out of my generation of cousins and siblings and stuff. I felt like I didn't really have anyone older than me to look up to other than adults. And so it was really a space for me to connect and see what other young men were doing, other experiences that they were having, and how they were navigating those challenges. So it allowed me to kind of connect with a community that I didn't have a lot of experience connecting with before, in a space that was designed to do that in a meaningful way. Because I think I learned a lot more participating in the teachings and topics of Circulo with that group of people, rather than just talking to a bunch of friends who may have been guys about some of those things, which I never really did because I just didn't feel comfortable doing that.
Thank you. I really connected to what you said about you're putting so much into others that you don't really have anything left to put into yourself. My friends in middle school used to call me the therapist because I was always taking care of them. And then I was like, well, I'm always the shoulder to lean on, but I don't really have anyone to lean on right now. So it's kind of, people could say that is a coping mechanism in itself of not really wanting to pay attention into what's happening in your own mind and putting your all into others. And not the best coping mechanism, don't recommend it. But, we have to learn how to heal through that. And I'm really happy to hear that your healing journey has been through Círculo and been through Joven Noble and all that. Arreola told me that you graduated with a major in art from San Jose State University. So I just want to give you a quick applause for that because that's freaking awesome. I love art. And art most of the time can be used as a healing mechanism and for ourselves, and drawing it with our own hands and feeling a sense of control. So I just wanted to ask, I'm going to merge two questions that we have in the sense of how would you define healing, and has art been able to help you heal yourself, and how can art help heal others?
Well, I mean, for me, I think that healing oftentimes is thought of as once you've healed from something, then whatever that thing was, it can no longer affect you. But I think that what healing means for me is that you're able to move on from that harm, that piece, that pain. You're able to move on and carry that in a way that it doesn't directly impact your life, where you can't move on and do other things. And I think that being able to heal from something doesn't mean that you aren't connected to that pain anymore. And I think it's the opposite, where you've learned to sit with that pain and you felt it and you're able to carry it without letting it bring you down a path that, throws you off of your groove. You're able to carry it and talk about it and have that experience as a part of your journey, but it's not what defines your journey. And so for me, I think, yeah, definitely art has been a way to deal with that, and in two different ways. Well, one is that I'm an artist visually, but I'm also an artist musically. And I think that before I started creating art visually, music was a way for me to escape, and it still is. By playing guitar, I'm able to almost close out the rest of the world for just those moments that I'm playing. And it allows me to not distract myself from the things that I'm dealing with, but to process them. And I think that's another important part of healing, is understanding that the things that you do to take care of yourself and to cope shouldn't be distractions away from what you're dealing with, but allow you the space to process them. And so music has definitely been a way for me to process with a lot of the loss and pain and things that I felt. And in a different way, when I was in school, the main medium that I would practice when doing art was ceramics and clay and sculpting. And for me, that was a avenue I didn't really get to explore as a younger self. I thought it was mostly just drawing and painting and, putting some metal and wood together. But it was actually a lot more than that. And I think discovering the physical therapy that kind of goes on with like sculpting things, getting your hands into the clay, and really that tactile therapy that it kind of provides. I think that those were two different ways that kind of helped me. And now art's become more of a way for me to kind of just connect with myself, because it doesn't involve anyone else. It's just me and whatever I'm working on. And it's a way for me to kind of reset every once in a while, to just focus on what I'm doing, even, regardless of what I'm creating or what I'm doing. It's more about those moments by myself that I'm kind of reflecting on myself, I guess, or getting lost in my own zone.
I just want to take a moment and lift up something that you said that was very powerful to me. You said, and I'm paraphrasing, you said healing is not disconnecting from the pain, but sitting with the pain in order to transform it. That to me has been the best way that I've heard someone define healing. And this is my first time hearing you say that. So I just wanted to take a moment to lift that up. Now, healing is not easy. It's actually easier not to heal. Can you highlight maybe one of the barriers that prevented you from healing, that maybe in your healing journey might have been a roadblock, might have been an obstacle for you or your family, someone that you might have witnessed struggle with healing and struggle with overcoming that trauma? What are some barriers that some of our young folks might encounter?
The first that comes to mind for me is, I think, pride and anger. And for me, I held a lot of resentment towards my father. And I think a lot of it was because, one of the things growing up was the absence of his presence and the absence of his efforts, and kind of like empty promises. And I think seeing him provide for someone else what he lacked to provide to us was something that I felt a lot of resentment towards him, and I felt a lot of anger towards him. And it was absolutely, something that I didn't want to be a part of. I didn't want him to be a part of my life. I didn't want to be a part of his. It was just easier for me to cut the cord and leave it be. And I think that the way that I felt about it was centered in resentment and anger. Whereas if I had sat with it for longer and made the conscious decision that for my own mental health and my own well-being, I was creating healthy boundaries about it. In that way, I think that mindset is a barrier that I struggled with, is just viewing that through anger and through pain rather than feeling at peace and kind of making a conscious decision to do that. So for me, I think that's still something that I haven't completely sat with and haven't fully gotten on board with. It's something that I still remember in the first day that I sat in circle and Mario was listening to me and this came up. And I still remember what he said. He said that, like one of the most powerful things is to forgive. And you're not forgiving that person and what they've done, but you're forgiving what happened for yourself. And I still remember feeling like I didn't quite believe what he said. And I was like, in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm never going to forgive this person. And I still challenge myself in trying to get there at some time. Because I think that for me, forgiveness means excusing, but I know that that's not quite what it means. And so I still struggle myself with that aspect of it. But the hard part is realizing that I know that I'm wrong in that way, but I just struggle with trying to make that transition for myself. So that's something that I still work towards.
Thank you. I mean, that's something I think a lot of us have trouble doing. It's the pride of being like, damn, I was wrong. That like, I mean, most of my brother and my dad deal with that all the time. But I just want to thank you for sharing what you shared. I really like what you said in the sense of letting anger cloud your judgment instead of looking at it from a healing point of view of this is healthy. It's okay to set boundaries with people. It's okay to do what I need to do for myself and not just to appease others. And it's kind of like deep down you knew that's what you wanted, but the anger of it all was just like, nope, not going to do any of this. So I really like how you phrase that because I feel that way a lot of the time, but I never knew how to put it in words until you did it very easily right now. So thank you for that. But our next question has to do with the youth in our community. This is my favorite. I love asking this question, so I always make sure I get the question to ask. It's, if you had a microphone for all of our youth in this community, and you could say anything you wanted to say to them, what would you say?
No pressure, eh? You have a microphone, the only microphone, the only voice, and you're the only lesson that's going to be passed on. No pressure.
I would probably say the best way to start healing, regardless of where that journey begins, I think is with sitting with whatever you're dealing with and really think about what's best for you and yourself. And the best way to kind of start is just by implementing self-care and do something that really allows you to feel joy and to really process your feelings rather than push them away or forget them. Because once you are at peace with where you've been wronged and the things that you've dealt with, it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks because it's your journey and it's your well-being and your health. And the only person that knows what's best for you is you.
I think that was one of my biggest lessons when I sat in circle as a participant. When I heard Mario say the only thing you're an expert on is yourself. Regardless of whatever PhD you have, regardless of whatever master's you develop, credentials you carry, at the end of the day, the only thing you're an expert on is yourself. And I think that that's important for us to acknowledge, especially when we're just starting that healing journey and not necessarily knowing what the road ahead has for us. So let me pivot real quick and ask you about that youth voice, because we just talked about a microphone. We just talked about youth voice and lifting up the youth. Why do you think it's important for us to listen to the youth? why do you think it's important for us to have them at the table? Because I know even in the family that I grew up, when you were younger, it was you were to be seen and not heard, right? We heard that term a lot. Why do you think it's important for us to hear from the youth, to listen to them, and actually allow them to lead some of it?
I think it's important because I think that a lot of things change in time. A lot of what we think is, society, whether it's what we think is right, what we think is wrong, solutions to things. And I think that for a long time, kind of like what you were mentioning, Ariel, is that young people have been silenced in a lot of ways. And the voice of young people has just been downplayed and put to the side. And a lot of those people who dealt with that growing up didn't feel that their voice was valuable. But the thing is, we can't possibly know all of the solutions to things. We can't come up with any new ideas if there's only 5 people coming up with those solutions. If we have an entire generation of people who can provide extra input and see things through a different lens, and in a lot of ways, if adults are making decisions on behalf of youth and what's best for them, that doesn't make any sense because they're not the audience receiving whatever decisions they're making. You have to ask the people that it's impacting. And I think that youth and young people should be allowed the space to provide their voice and their input, especially on topics where decisions are trying to be made about them and what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And I think it's different in providing advice and guidance. But also when you're providing advice and guidance, you have to listen to the person you're providing that to know what guidance or advice you need to provide to them. And so we can't provide advice or guidance to someone who's silenced. So I think that allowing people to share and speak, it's just seeing youth and young people in the same way as anyone else. They're people with their own experiences, and just because they may be younger in age doesn't mean that their voice is any less valuable. I think we can learn something from a child who's 2 years old to someone who's 12, 17, 30, 80 years old. I don't think it matters the age. I think that everyone brings to the table their own experiences, and that should be validated and heard.
Definitely. I definitely think we can't help our new generation with what we tried with the old generation, because it's like a completely new set of struggles, a completely new environment that we're setting up for our youth. That, I mean, my niece is like 10 times smarter than I'll ever be, and she's 7 right now. So it's our new generation is going at a faster pace level, and we can't expect to help them without hearing what they actually need help with in the first hand. So thank you for touching base on that. Again, I just want to point out that you're going to have a baby soon. So very, very much congratulations on that. And they're going to be a part of that new fast-paced generation. So I want to ask, one lesson that you've learned or something that you for sure want to pass on to your future child. What is it? What's one thing you want them to know? Like, this is from me to you.
I think for me, the one thing that I would want to pass on to them is, I would say, no one's going to love you more than you. So take care of yourself. Accept the love of other people, but you can't accept the love of other people until you love yourself.
That is a lesson not only just for your future child, but I think for anybody here listening. I think true love comes from self-love. And I think even earlier when we were talking about self-care, if self-care is not rooted in self-love, it's not true self-care. So I think that is just something. Thank you for sharing that with us. I didn't know where you were going to go with that question. I didn't know how you were going to answer it. And I know it's a loaded question, because you're doing everything right now preparing for that child to come into this world, and you want to make sure that that child is surrounded by love and caring people. So that was definitely a heavy question to answer, so thank you for offering that. And just as we start to close up, allowing everybody to do a couple of just closing remarks, is there anything else that, and I'll go to AB first to give Jose a little bit more time. But I'll go to AB first. Is there anything that you want to share as we kind of close up?
That was beautiful. I just want to say that. I mean, I got tears in my eyes when I was like, "Oh, that was powerful." So thank you for that. Thank you for being here in general and being upfront and answering our questions with vulnerability. I don't know if I made up a word, but it did not connect in my head right now. And thank you for being you. Congratulations on so many things. And I'm very excited for your next journey, for your next chapter in your life. And I know you're going to be an amazing dad. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you, Ariel, for being here. And thank you for our listeners who are listening.
Thank you, AB, in the gracious way that you always close us up. Jose, one last chance for you. Is there any parting ways, any last minute lessons that you want to make sure our listeners tune into, or any closing remarks that you just want to share in general?
No, I just want to thank you all for having me on here, and I really appreciate the space that you held. I felt like this is just a virtual version of Circulo, a 3-person Circulo. So I think that, a lot of what I said just came from the heart, just because of how welcoming and warm the space was. So I look forward to future conversations, and yeah, I'll be exhausted and busy raising a child soon. So send the love.
Hopefully good exhaustion. And we'll be here along the road to help you out in any way possible. I do want to, thank AB for always guiding this conversation in a beautiful way, for offering your teachings in terms of your lived experiences as well. Jose, always great to be in space with you. You said it best. This is just an extension of Circulo. And that's our hope with the Healing Generation podcast, that we hope that Circulo doesn't end when Circle closes. You're able to take that fire home with you. You're able to warm and cultivate that in your own home, within your own personal relationships, and with your own family. And we've always been reminded that Circulo and community work really start at home. So with that, we hope that everybody tuned in today. We hope that you received the medicine that you needed today. We thank you, Jose, for showing us a little bit of your scars, your vulnerability, but definitely grateful for the lessons that you shared with us today, and all the beautiful things that you're going to pour into that beautiful child that is on its way. So with that, from the Healing Generation team, from the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders, we say thank you for tuning in to us. And we look forward to our next conversation next month. Gracias.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.